After the nerdy, god-awful disaster of Pixels, I desperately needed that motivation to pick myself back up. I mean, I don't care what you say, but if you tell me that a boxing movie isn't the slightest bit of motivating, you are lying to yourself. Okay, so Southpaw. Southpaw follows the story of middleweight champion of the world, Billy the Great Hope, who is a star in the boxing world. He has financial stability, a beautiful family, a beautiful home, showing he is the king of the ring. He seems to be on top of his game, that is, until a certain tragedy happens in his life that causes him to go off course. And by off course, I mean he loses his fame, fortune, and family, causing him to go into this downward spiral and having an absence in his boxing career. Now, in a desperate attempt to redeem himself, he must face his inner demons to win back his world title and the heart of his family. Now, I was really looking forward to Southpaw, mainly because of Jake Gyllenhaal's performance, because lately he has been giving us such captivating and memorable characters. The guy really transformed himself as an actor to whenever I see him on screen, it's a totally different person, and that's what you want to see in an actor. And Antoine Fuqua, the director of Training Day and The Equalizer, was gonna direct this movie as well. He's had a few hit and misses, but I was still interested to see what he was gonna do with Southpaw. Turns out Oscar buzz may come early this year, folks, because Southpaw was very enjoyable. And why I say Oscar buzz is, of course, Jake Gyllenhaal's performance as Billy the Great Hope. He gives a brilliant performance as this well-caring family man, switching over to this figure who fights the struggles of the harsh realities occurring in his life. He essentially portrays two different characters through the events of Southpaw, which could spell out disaster on so many levels in a drama. But due to his realistic and raw take on the character, it ended up being one of my favorite male performances of the year, right next to Oscar Isaac in Ex Machina. And this dude got freaking ripped for the role. It's crazy how last October we saw him as this lanky freak transform into this straight up beefcake. Props to Gyllenhaal for having such dedication to his characters. It makes me want to work out now. Even though the supporting cast was totally overshadowed by Gyllenhaal's performance, they ended up being functional as well. You got Rachel McAdams as his wife, who's kind of like the voice and motivation behind his character. She was really good in this movie. There were a couple scenes where she was giving it her all, absolutely proving to me that she can do more than what she is given. Forrest Whitaker is in this movie, who I used to call Whit Taker back then because I'm a dumb shit. He kind of reminded me of Mickey from the Rocky movies, trying to rebuild Billy Hope's motivation and trying to train him. And if I look at it, this movie is kind of like Rocky in a few ways. Rachel McAdams is Adrian and Forrest Whitaker is Mickey. Because let's face it, when you think of boxing movies, the first thing that comes to mind is Rocky. There's no escaping that. And this movie basically has some similarities to the plot points of Rocky 3, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's all about execution, and the way this movie takes us into the dark, anger-filled part of Billy Hope's mind is something that could be added to the boxing genre. When this movie gets dark and depressing, it gets dark and depressing because you feel so bad for what's happening to Jake Gyllenhaal's character, you end up rooting for the guy. You want to see him succeed, you want to see him win his title and his family back, and that's one of the biggest compliments I can give to Southpaw. Because behind all the dirty, gritty ugliness this movie can have, you're waiting for the moment where he can finally make a stand. Since this movie does follow his character throughout, it would suck ass if he ended up not giving a shit about his character, but thankfully, it's the opposite. Also, the fight scenes were one of the best parts of the movie, since every punch delivered in the ring looked incredibly real and well shot. It just has this authentic sound to it, because whenever someone gets punched in the face, it really looked like they got punched in the freaking face. When the fist just goes and hit their face like, there's blood and spit coming out, there's vibrations going around their body, it looked incredibly real, and it looked like it hurt at the same time. But because Southpaw is such a by-the-books movie, it doesn't necessarily bring anything new to the table. Yeah, it can be cliche at times because when you're seeing it play out, it can be very predictable. Nothing really surprised me in this movie, no plot twists or turns, and if you've seen the trailers, you'll know exactly what I mean. Not really a huge complaint, but it's just something that has to be addressed. But in the end, Southpaw gives us another great performance from Jake Gyllenhaal, who maybe gets some Oscar buzz. It gave this dark, gritty feel, the fight scenes looked incredibly real, but it is such a by-the-books film that sometimes it could be predictable and can be cliche, but that doesn't mean I had a good time with this film, because I say if you want to see Southpaw, go see it at the matinee price. Because Mickey loves you, Rock. And I would also lie if I said that there were no tears coming out during this movie. So, have you seen Southpaw, and what did you think about it? Whatever your thoughts are, leave a comment below. And as always, there's a link for my Twitter and my Facebook below as well. Keep in contact with me, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. But in the meantime, I have to get going to get that Jake Gyllenhaal bod, get that Southpaw workout in. Actually, I'm probably not going to do that. Probably going to make more videos. Sounds like a better idea.